Join us at the Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio to empower your evenings. Every Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Real talk for real women, all with you in mind. So join the conversation. Call in at 347-989-8564. That's 347-989-8564. Or visit us at thevisionarywoman.com/Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio. Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to the Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio. Today we are here with the amazing Whitney Mulling. How are you, my dear?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, and we are so happy to have you here with us today. Everyone, today we are talking about change often comes with a price, and are you willing to pay the price? Whitney, tell me, why is this conversation so near and dear to you?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. And it's very near and dear too, because I really think this applies to all business owners. It's so easy to stay safe, so easy to stay comfortable. I remember, at the earlier stages of my business, I wasn't really attracting the business that I want. I wasn't attracting my soul clients. And this has largely due to your mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when the topic comes up, change often comes with the price. It's simply looking at, what's the payout for staying where you are, and what's the cost of you actually jumping, to the other side, or make those moves that makes you uncomfortable and fear and move through the fear. So, I think this is such a wonderful topic because as a business owner, I think that's the biggest difference between entrepreneur and employees, right? You need to push those limits for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to bang your head against the wall.
And you know what? I think that can also be applied to our personal lives also. We have this thing here. I know you're located in Canada, but in the United States, over 50% of all marriages that are entered into end in divorce. So then the question goes back to, we want change, but are we truly willing, right, to jump into that change? And that also goes into our personal lives, because I think so often we want things we're not ready for. And then when we gain those responsibilities, we realize that we're kind of in over our heads. And so it's easier for us to become complacent, complain a lot, avoid the circumstance and the situation altogether, or not simply address it at all. So tell me, how do we start addressing the change that we really want? And is it the change that we truly want?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's amazing. I think you touch on a few things. First of all, you have to be so crystal clear in what you want. If you are not clear in what you want, you never be happy. Everything would never be satisfactory. And even the very term success, if you don't know what you want, you can't clearly define what success means to you. And this applies to all areas of your life, like you say, not just business, but, like a lot of a woman entrepreneur, like you or myself, a lot of the women that come across with, we have family to take care of. We have our children that we want to raise, by ourselves, right? And so we often choose the road of entrepreneurship. And so it's true. It is so true. It's a bit of a loaded question. So let me see if I could answer this. So if I were to say, just to be clear for what you want first, and then how do you really get yourself to move forward? Okay, so it's knowing what you want and knowing where you are, staying where you are, and just be realistic and be honest with yourself. Is it going to get to where you want? If it's not going to get you to where you want, then something's got to change. And I think this is the biggest, difference between, women in business especially, is because we were very strong-willed people. And once we see the clarity of where we want to go, where we're at, and you know, try to figure out what you need to do in between, a lot of the times it comes back to inner work. If you could figure yourself out and work within and work with all your, I want to say the word issues, but it's not always tainted in that sense, but it's our own shadow too, right? So that's where it comes in. You have to recognize what is your ego, right? What is your own truth? You know, what are some of the shadows that you've been, you know, probably had instilled in our childhood, right? So you need to kind of work through what are your stories and get to the truth of who you are, what you want. And that's really the ultimate, I want to say the word solution, because I really don't know any other way. And this is really everybody's journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
And not just business.
Yeah, it is. And see, that's the whole thing also. Like, we want that instant gratification. So I was born in 84, so I'm only 33. And I grew up in a generation in New York City where we wanted what we wanted when we wanted it. We want it right now. We're not going to wait. We're going to hustle so we can get it. We'll do what we got to do. And the problem with the microwave generation is that instant gratification is what we reach for versus the actual success that we envision. So that's where we become a problem. So I'm wondering to myself, how do we recognize that change is not some genie in a bottle that we can pour out and instantly get what we want? How do we start kindling that fire to actually go get it? Because listen, here's the thing. We know of people who are pipe dreamers. They talk all day, all night. They're never going to accomplish anything in the world that they ever wanted because all they're doing is talking. We do know of what I call go-getters. Those are the people who are going to get whatever it is that they're envisioning at whatever cost that looks like. And then we have that which is called destiny walkers. Those are the people who are walking in their purpose, and therefore they never work a day in their lives because they're actually doing what they were created to do on this planet. So how do we start looking at living in change as an essence of yourself versus some formality outside of yourself?
Oh, I love that. And this is really what I'm about, the essence of yourself. I think clarity would be step one. You have to be so crystal clear. What is your purpose? Because if you don't know what your purpose is, then you always be chasing something, right? And that's really where fulfillment comes from, is doing your soul's work, right? As you call it, your destiny. So this is the work when you do. You don't have to eat. You don't have to sleep. And you're just constantly buzzing. And you're just constantly like feeling so high on crack. That's kind of like what it feels like. That's a good sign to know when you've hit it. So I think a lot of you know, us, even myself included, I would tell you I'm so disconnected with who I am, what I want, in just probably a year ago, right? And I think that's kind of where Kelly comes from. You want the instant gratification. It's like you think you want something else, and then when you get it, and then you don't have interest anymore, or you just see, you know, this shiny syndrome. You see everything, it's so shiny, you just want it all, right? And I think this kind of goes back to the topic of today, is the fact that when you don't have fulfillment, and that's when you find yourself in constant change, and you would one day feel like you're constantly chasing something that you don't even know what you're chasing after. Like that's kind of like where the emptiness comes from. And that's when you're not, you know, the opposite of feeling fulfilled. What would be a word?
Yeah, but you know what I find funny too is that people that I can clearly see have a gift of whatever it is, and they run from it. because they don't want the responsibility. I also see that they too have a lot of issues. You'll find that everything they touch will fail. Every single solitary thing that they touch will fail because they're not operating in what it was that they were designed to do. You also find people who mimic other people's dreams, and therefore they never obtain success, inner success or outward success, because they're living in a mirage. They're living in a false sense of reality. So then my question to you would be, when it comes to change, how do we begin to see change as a friend versus a foe?
I think that it really comes down to being connected, right? And when I say connected, I mean connected to yourself. Have that clarity to just even hear yourself think. And a lot of times this comes from meditation. And honestly, meditation can come in different form, but it's just, we're so cluttered in our head with everybody's chatter but our own. Mm-hmm.
How do we start engaging in change without this fear that somehow it's going to either hurt us, harm us, or inconvenience us? Because listen, you talking about a woman who hates change. I'm a person who will be offended if someone actually threw me a surprise party. I would be offended. I would truly, no, seriously. And I've gotten better over the course of many years, but even as a kid, like I couldn't keep a secret. I never could keep a secret because in my inner capacity, change comes with secrecy. So therefore, I don't like change, right? So because it's something I can't control, which goes back to the narrative of me being very controlling. So when we think in terms of change, how do we start becoming more honest about the change that's entering into our lives? Because I think that's a huge problem. When we see change as this now sometimes change is detrimental. I'm not gonna lie. Change can be very detrimental at times. But then there are those times when change comes because it's necessary to take you to the next level of where you're trying to go.
Sometimes change can be very scary because you don't have the control. And that is actually one of the most common negatives about change, is because you don't know of the unknown, right? Okay, so it kind of goes back to what I was thinking is when you have that connection with yourself established, it really boils down to the faith and trust, right? When you're connected with yourself, then you can actually look at change and feel better about it with more ease, right? Because you know that your back is taken care of. You know that, the big you or God or what you want to term it has got your back. Then you'll be able to manage and walk through those changes with more ease. And sometimes what happens is when you know what you want and you're aligned with what your purpose is, you're on the right path. Those are the few things that I think are very, very key in setting the foundation to set yourself up to move through changes with ease and flow. Then you'd be more excited, right? Because you know that for whatever that's thrown your way, let it be a curveball or whatnot, right? You be able to navigate to know, okay, this is a lesson for me. What's the lesson in this? Or you'd be more excited to think, maybe I don't feel ready, but maybe I am ready for something bigger. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's kind of how I've been seeing all the changes happening. And I think being in business, these changes come quicker. So it really puts you in that journey to learn a little bit quicker. But in the same journey of the different lessons that you're learning, it also applies to your life. And so with each lesson that I'm moving through, each block that I'm busting through, each lessons that I'm really embracing, I feel like I'm becoming a better version, of who I am. And so then I show up a little bit better as you know, a mom, as a wife, as a friend. So it's really not just business. And this is why I truly believe our business is really an extension of ourselves. It's really our vehicle to drive out your purpose, right? So that's why I think it's so intertwined with, you know, your life. It's not business as a separate entity. It's life and business. So you as a business, or what you do in business, it's a part of who you are. So I think from me, majority of my lessons has been moved through from running my business. And I just think that I just actually have found that it accelerated, right? Having all these changes kind of thrown at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I got this. I thought I got a grip of this. Can I just enjoy it in this stage? And it just never happens that way, right?
No.
It's either you're ready or not. And the thing is, you're never ready. You never feel like you're ready. So it's almost like that's one of the bigger learning is how do you move with the changes? So that's the flow, right? How do you find ease with moving, you know, with the flow? I think that's kind of what, you know, all those terminologies, we hear them a lot, right? And that's how I would interpret it.
Wow. Wow. Wow, ladies, this is an amazing, fascinating conversation with Whitney Mulling, and we are talking about change often comes with a price. Are we willing to pay it? We're going to have this conversation on the other side of this commercial.
Join us at thevisionarywoman.com, a media network of women, for women, by women. Watch our host of insightful video exchange interviews. Listen to the Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio to empower your evenings and read fascinating articles of perseverance and inspiration, all with you in mind. Visit thevisionarywoman.com and follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hello, everyone, and we're back from that wonderful commercial, and we're here with Whitney Mulling, and we're talking about change often comes with a price. Are we willing to pay it? You know what's a beautiful thing too? The beautiful thing I find about change is that it opens up a door that you were looking for. And then when you walk through it, it's never exactly what you thought, which is kind of awkward because like, okay, so I was like, okay, when I get to a certain platform where I'm doing X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be so happy because blah, blah, blah. And then I walk through it and I'm like, oh shit, is this it? Is this everything I thought it was going to be? Oh, God. And you almost feel kind of disappointed because it's nothing like you romanticized in your mind, right? And so, you know, you're not sleeping, like literally going to bed at 9 o'clock, waking up at 1:30, can't go back to sleep because you have all these thoughts flying through your mind. Getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go work out at the gym, having to come back home, 6 o'clock, make sure the kids eat. I mean, it's almost like these mundane things, right, that we have to engage with involving change just to force us to have more change. It's like the ever-evolving door of change. It's like the one thing that is going to be consistent in life is inconsistency. I believe that. The one consistent thing in life is going to be inconsistency. So how do we start living in a place where we are comfortable living in that ever-evolving door of change?
Yeah, that is so well put. It is true. It is true. But I think what you said was really profound in a way is you asked for the changes. Right? Every single change that are thrown at us that we're like scared of, anything that we're fear of, we essentially had asked for them, didn't we? Because we want more. I think it really goes back to how do you be comfortable, right? And I think the way to be comfortable is to learn how to be fearless. And it just sounds so cliche, when I say be fearless, but there is no other way actually to move through fear taking actions, right?
Mm.
And so, like I read Darren Hardy's The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, his book. He actually included a very simple stat in there, is that fear and excitement is the same emotion. If you are able to live through the fear, and it's down to a time frame, and I really cannot remember what it is, but it's something along the lines, even just over 30 seconds. If you just go ahead and do and live with it for like that time period, you would pass the fear and it becomes the excitement. And once you take the action, then you just move through it, then it's no longer a fear.
Wow. Shane, what was that? Fear and excitement are the exact same emotion. That is crazy, because you know what's so funny? Because fear makes me feel sick to my stomach, and excitement makes me feel sick to my very stomach. Literally, I feel a nauseated feeling. That is very profound. Final question. When do we begin to encourage? How do we encourage other people to accept the change that is coming, whether that's in your personal life, your business, your inner person, yourself? How do we do that?
You don't.
Mm.
Yeah. It's so funny, because the best thing that anybody can do is embody it themselves, share presence, and it shows energetically. So that's why the one-to-one live interaction is so important. And that's why, it's so important to go to live events, especially for women in business, to really get that interaction, because you can learn so much and just in someone's presence. So the best way to encourage other people is for you to walk it out yourself, because people feel it. And it's so funny, because as women too, I don't know why, but it's almost like we're brought up, or we grew up to always needing to ask for permission and approval and validation, right? So the best gift that you can give to anybody is, giving yourself the permission, allowing yourself, and don't need validation. As soon as you carry that self-worth, you have that energetically, and people can feel it, and it gives them permission to do the same thing.
Oh my God, ladies, what a fascinating conversation we just had with Whitney Mulling. Remember, you can always catch me, Charmaine Caraway, at thevisionarywoman.com. And don't forget to join us back here next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time at the Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio. Talk to you later. Join us at the Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio to empower your evenings. Every Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Real talk for real women, all with you in mind. So join the conversation. Call in at 347-989-8564. That's 347-989-8564. Or visit us at thevisionarywoman.com /Visionary Hotspot Talk Radio.